A common belief about public speaking is that it is the number one fear, even greater than death itself. After working with some of the best speakers and presenters in the world since 2001, I couldn't disagree more with this assessment. The reality is that yes, there is fear that's centered around the idea of public speaking, but it's not the speaking that's the source of the fear. And what you're about to learn in this video are some of the underlying factors that generate this fear and tension about speaking. You'll also learn 6 tips on how to manage your nerves. Hi, I'm Michael Davis, the Speaking MD, and I have had the great privilege over the last 13 years of working with some of the best speakers in the world. And one of the key ideas that I've learned is that great speakers and presenters are not born, they're made. They don't magically step on stage and have the words easily flow out of them and mesmerize an audience to the point where they do anything the speaker will say. What they have learned is repeatable processes and tools that you can learn. One of the most important concepts was discussed in the last video is how to not overload your audience. This is one of the fundamental or underlying reasons people get so nervous. They don't know which information to share. If you didn't get to see that last video, I strongly encourage you to do that. There will be a link at the end of this video so you can review that information. What are the underlying causes of this fear? First of all, I don't believe it's a fear of speaking. Anytime you talk to another person outside of your home, you're engaged in public speaking. Chances are you're pretty good at it. The real fear is the fear of embarrassment or humiliation. That's why people get nervous and even stressed out about the idea of talking to a group of other people. Think about an incident in your life, whether you were a kid or an adult, where you were embarrassed in front of a group of other people. And a group, by the way, can be 2 or more people. For me, it happened when I was 6 years old in Mrs. North's first grade class. I broke a class rule, and my punishment was to stand on top of my desk during nap time. And while the other kids laid their heads on that desk in that darkened room during that hour, I was laughed at, I was pointed at, and it left a pretty negative impression on me on the value of standing in front of others. It took me 25 years to overcome that humiliating experience. So whatever your public speaking nightmare was, keep in mind it could be holding you back. But there are some very simple tools to help you overcome that negative experience. The first is to keep perspective. One of the biggest challenges for speakers is that they put so much time and energy and blood, sweat, and tears into their talks. What they fail to remember is that the audience, truthfully, doesn't care how much time you've given to that talk. What they want to know is what's in it for me. Whether you spend 2 minutes preparing or 2 weeks, all they want is 1 or 2 good ideas that they can use to make their lives a little bit better. With all the energy you put into creating that message, it's easy to forget that you are not giving a presentation or a speech to a joint session of Congress to declare war on a foreign power. Our speeches just aren't that important. Yes, the subject matter is important to us, but in the general sense, we're just offering some ideas that can make people's lives a little bit better. So keep that in mind when you get in front of the group. The second idea is that so many people get nervous because their focus is in the wrong place. They get worried about how they appear. How's my hair? How's my suit? How's my dress? Am I going to say something that makes me look stupid? All of those questions are focused on the wrong person or people. Who should your focus really be on? Well, obviously the answer is your audience. Are you giving them a meaningful message, beneficial ideas that can make their lives better? As an example, in these videos that I'm recording, I know they're not perfect. I'm going to stumble here and there. The lighting may not be perfect. My hair may be out of place. I don't care about that. What I care about is that you're getting useful content that can make your next presentation better. So keep that in mind. If you're feeling an extreme amount of nervousness, it's probably because you're focused too much on yourself and not your audience. Third idea is very useful about 15 to 30 minutes before you speak. And this isn't always easy to do, but if you can do it, try to exercise. You can burn off some of your nervous energy if you can get just a few minutes to do something physical. I've had big presentations where I went to a side room and actually cranked up some music and danced all by myself. It may not be a picture that you want to have in your mind, but I did it. You can do push-ups, you can do jumping jacks if you can get into a side room. One of the best memories I have of exercise actually was a detriment to me. It was in 2006 and I was competing in an important speech contest. I noticed that one of my competitors off to the side, Bonnie, was looking really tense. So I shared this idea with her. I said, Bonnie, why don't you go over and do some exercises? She said, that's a great idea. And right there in the hotel lobby, she dropped down and started doing push-ups. She was so thankful for this idea. Now, the reason I say this is a detriment is because Bonnie went on to win that speech contest. Now, I'd like to think that my suggestion is what made a difference, but the reality is she had a better speech that day. Now, you may be in a situation where you can't leave the room to go exercise, but there is another tool that you can use, and that is to tighten each part of your body for just a few seconds and then release it. Nobody around you will be any worse aware they won't know what's going on, but you can use that to burn off some energy. It's not as intense as exercise, but it's better than nothing. So any chance you have to physically move, take it. The fourth idea is deep breathing. Again, this is something you can do while sitting in your chair. Now, over the years, I've seen all kinds of combinations of how long you should breathe in, hold it, and then let it out. Find something that's comfortable for you. I've found that breathing in for about 3 to 4 seconds, holding it for maybe 5 or 6, and then slowly letting it out, and then doing that 5 or 6 times really helps me get centered. So deep breathing, try that. And as I'm going through these, keep in mind that if you can do a combination of these, it'll make your experience a lot better. You can really address and attack your nerves if you can do each of these. The fifth suggestion comes from my friend and mentor, Darren LaCroix. Darren taught me to ask 4 questions and answer these 4 questions 5 minutes before I go on stage. And the 4 questions are these. Number 1, why am I here? What is my purpose? What do I want this audience to take away? The second question is, am I present? Mentally, am I here? Or am I thinking about the fight that I had with my son, or the problem that my fiance and I are trying to deal with, or any one of 1,000 different questions that are in my mind? Am I there in the room really paying attention? The third question is, will I have fun? Ah, yes. Believe it or not, you can have fun when you speak. This is a foreign concept to a lot of people, especially those who are extremely nervous about thinking about speaking. But when you connect with an audience, when you can feel their energy, you know you're giving them a useful message, that's a lot of fun. It's actually addictive. The more it happens, the more you want it. The fourth question is really the most powerful. The question is, if this is the last presentation I ever give, how will I want that audience to be impacted, and how do I want to be remembered? The sad fact is that one day you and I are going to give our last speech. In most cases, we don't know when that will be. So if you start to treat each of your speeches as the last one, your energy will increase, your focus will be on the audience, and you can leave them a memorable experience that will have them talking about you for days, weeks, and even months afterwards. The sixth tip on how to manage your nerves is the most powerful and most important. If you do this, you will eliminate 50 to 75% of your nerves right away. And that is preparation. When you know what you're going to say, it's so much easier to focus on your audience. The majority of the time when I talk to my clients about why they were so tense, so stressed out, they didn't know what they were going to say, their speeches weren't organized, there was no format, there was no process, they just weren't ready. When you have a process down and you have a logical order and sequence for your material, you're much more likely to feel confident, you're going to be able to focus on your audience, and you'll create an experience for them. Your message will much more likely be heard. So those are 6 tips on how you can control your nerves. Remember, this isn't about the fear of speaking. It's about the fear of embarrassment or even humiliation. Whatever you experienced in your past, don't worry about it. That was then, this is now. Use these 6 tools and you can create an experience that will leave a lasting impact on your audience. Now before we go, I'd love to hear your feedback on these ideas. Test them out. Let me know how they work. And if you have other ideas that have helped you control nerves, post in the comments section below. Scroll down, leave your feedback. Would love to hear from you. And again, at the end of this video, you'll see a link to the last video that talks about information overload. In our next video, we'll talk about one of the biggest mistakes that speakers make, and that is poor openings. We'll teach you how you can open with a bang so that you grab audience attention and keep it throughout your presentation. Until then, always remember, you have a message that someone needs to hear.